Guys. If you have any stream problems, it's because I'm using the 4G on my Straight Talk Wireless right now. But I wanted to come on here while I can, while I still have a bit of time left on my lunch, to kind of talk about this little topic I put into the title. You see, everybody pretty much is getting to a point right now to where either they feel the worst of it or the peak of it, the virus, whatever you want to call it, has come and gone. Others feel like they're not sure about whether or not it has peaked, or we're still in the peakness, or the worst of it is gone, or we're just at the tail end of the worst. No one really knows because, like I say, they kind of get mixed signals, and that's not really helping them a lot. However, a lot of governors potentially have made the decision to catch that the restrictions still follow some of the guidelines. And, folks, they kind of understand that. They're kind of accepting of it. But then again, there are those that, like I said, feel, that we've been through the worst of it already. We've reached and gone past the peak. And now it's time to get back to normal, try to hurry up. And every time the governors come on, like our governor does here in California, they give us an update of what's going on. They kind of give us news like our governor has lately about, how certain things, businesses and stuff can resume, following guidelines and all that. So, so they're basically giving some good news. Semi-good news, but some good news. But there's one thing I think some people need to notice, or have hopefully noticed, but they still need to notice if they haven't, about some of the speeches governors are giving. Like our governor here in California, like as I said, he's and that's a crow over there. Sorry about that. But like I said, our governor basically has come out every time he's done a speech or given an update as to what's going on. And not only does he address the situation in our state and whether or not our state's getting better at certain areas, and that, or what phases we're currently headed into and preparing for and stuff like that. But the other thing that he does, our governor does, besides talk about the status of our state, which he governs or resides over, but the other thing that he does is talk about the nation. He briefly touches upon, he briefly, if not for a few minutes or something like that, goes into talking about the well-being of the nation and stuff like that. He even touches upon, the world situation. And that's great and everything if he does that. That's fine, that's great. But I get this suspicious feeling in the pit of my stomach that when he talks about the nation at times more so than the state that he resides over, it kind of tells me that what he's doing, and I guess more power to him, if you will, but what I see him doing, honestly, is I see him laying the foundation for a possible, if not legitimate, 2024 presidential campaign run. Hold on for a second. like I said, that's legitimately what I see. Because when he talks about the state, our state that he resides over, or presides over, I should say, that's great that he's coming out and saying, okay, I'm letting this happen, I'm lifting this, but there's got to be this in place for it. Da, 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 da. I'm glad he's doing all that. I'm glad he's doing all that. But, but again, I also notice at times that he'll talk about the rest of the nation, which is a nice gesture, but he talks about it in a way like he's running for president, like he's on a campaign trail, and he's talking about this and that when it comes to the nation. And again, it makes me wonder if he's laying the foundation down for a possible, if not legitimate, 2024 campaign run at a presidency. I can't say whether that's true or not, but I can say this: I've I've talked with several friends about that here at work and other places, and they have basically said that if Newsom was to go for that, he's not going to win because pretty much, who he's related to. Believe it or not, if you don't know who he's related to, it's Pelosi. I think her. I think he's her nephew or something like that. And basically, a lot of folks, according to several friends I know of, have said that because of the fact that Southern California is the most liberal part of the state, that there is no way Newsom's going to succeed because you see all these depictions of his face, you know, looking like somebody else with certain symbolism behind it. And, a lot of friends I've talked to, like I said, feel that Newsom's not going to succeed if if that's what he's planning to do, and I have a feeling that's what he wants to do. That's what he plans to do because, again, you listen to what he says in his speeches, and it sounds like he's not just giving you an idea of where California's at on the verge of recovery, but he's also laying down the foundation for a possible 2024 presidential run. Or he's trying to maybe influence those that do support him and others like him to possibly use that blank space in the voting ballots that they're getting in the mail, if not be able to do it in person, and basically fill that blank space out with his name, hoping that if that happens, he can have maybe a surprise run at a possible surprise election as president. I'm not saying that's legitimately going to happen. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but still, I get this feeling that when you listen to what he says in his daily, bi-daily updates and briefings as to what's going on with the state, and he talks about the nation at times more than the state, I get this feeling that that's what he's doing. He's trying to lay the foundation for a possible 2024 presidential campaign run, if not maybe try to influence those around him to maybe, or that support him and people like him, to perhaps use that blank space in the voting ballots to put his name in there. And you know what's funny? I almost guarantee he's not the only governor in this country that's doing that. He's not the only governor. Even if the governors are for someone like Trump as president, you can't tell me they're not trying to lay the foundation as well for a 2024 presidential campaign run. You can't tell me that during their speeches, they're not just giving updates as to what's going on with their states and what their status is, but they're also talking about the nation probably more so than the state to where it sounds like they're trying to president, and this is part of the campaign, but actually what they're doing is either laying the foundation down for that 2024 presidential campaign run, or they're trying to influence those that support them to put their names in that little blank area in the voting ballots for potential president. I know people are thinking, well, you don't know that, Brian. You're just theorizing. You think that's what it could be, but it may not be. And you're probably right. You're probably right. Maybe I'm imagining it or something, but I don't think I am. I don't think I am imagining it because again, when you listen to how he talks, to how our governor talks in his daily or bi-daily briefings on and updates and status updates on how the state is and where they're at. It's almost sounding like he's running for president. It's like he's laying the foundation down for a possible presidential campaign run in the next 4 years. That's what it looks like to me. It sounds like to me. And again, I'm pretty sure our governor is not the only one that's doing that. I'm pretty sure anybody watching this video, no matter where you live here in the thing, you can't tell me that New York's governor, Cuomo, is not trying to do the same thing. Like, instead of talking about the status of New York and where they are in this whole situation, you can't tell me that he's also taking more time, he's actually dedicating more time to talk about the status of the nation. You know, you can't tell me that because he is. You know, you can't tell me that because he is doing that. You can't tell me that the governor of Texas ain't doing the same thing. You can't tell me the governor of Florida is not doing the same thing, or the governor of Ohio, or even that Michigan governor, who, again, one of the last news articles on her was, oh, you can't step outside your house because of this thing. I don't even want you on your front lawn, from what people are reporting. You can't tell me that each and every one of them is not in their own unique way when they give you a status update and, you know, as to where your state what phase your state resides in right now when it comes to recovering from this virus. You can't tell me that you don't notice that during the speeches that they also focus more so at times on the nation as a whole, as if they're trying to run for president. And what they're doing is they're laying the foundation, they're planting the seeds for a 2024 presidential run. You know that, I know that. And also at the same time, they're trying to hopefully influence those that support them to possibly in November, and most likely November 3rd, which is election day, they are hoping that by influencing them, perhaps those that support them, that they'll put their names in that blank spot for the voting ballot for who they want as president, probably giving them a slight sliver of a chance to be recognized or even maybe surprise people with a possible out of nowhere run at the presidency. You can't tell me that's not true. You can't tell me that is not true. You can't tell me, like I said, the governor of Florida, the governor of Texas, Michigan, Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, I think I said Florida, California, of course, my state, Oregon, Washington. You can't tell me any of the governors in all 50 states are not in some way, shape, form, or fashion laying the foundation down for a possible presidential campaign run. You cannot tell me they're not doing it because they are. And if not that, you can't tell me they're not trying to influence the voters out there, those that support them, to probably put their names in that blank space during November 3rd this year, which is election day, as part of the voting ballot to see who they would want as president, giving them that slight sliver of a chance to be recognized as, hey, they were put into the race unexpectedly and maybe came this close to becoming president. You can't tell me that's not what they're doing, because they are. And I know you're thinking it's you, and I know, and look, I know you're thinking, Brian, you're being too much of a conspiracist. You're thinking too much into this. Am I? Am I thinking too much into it? Or do I have a point? I'm just saying, guys, if you listen to the various, if you listen to the various ways that your governors do the daily, if not bi-daily, status briefings and speeches on how your state's doing, you can't tell me you don't notice them not only talking about, the status of where your state is in recovery, or what phase your state is in when it comes to recovering from this virus. You can't tell me that you don't notice at times that they sometimes put more emphasis on talking about the status of the nation and what's good about the nation and what's good for the nation, as if they're not trying to run for president. You can't tell me you don't notice that, because you do. Because you do. And again, all it is them trying to lay down the foundation for a 2024 presidential campaign run, if not try to influence those that support them, the voters, to possibly put their names into that blank area that we normally get with our ballots, or that we normally see with our voting ballots, to basically put in there who we would want to see as president, and that's it. Or who would we want to probably try to get a surprise run or a surprise sliver of a chance of, oh look, this person was running for president and they didn't even know it, but it was thanks to the people that put their names on that blank space. So you can't tell me that's not the case. You cannot tell me that's not true. You can't tell me that's not what's going on. But that's just my opinion. But anyway, guys, in closing, this is just my opinion. Again, you can't tell me that there's not some kind of truth to it. You can't tell me it's not. You can't tell me my governor here in California or your governor in your state isn't doing that. Because they are. Just listen to how they talk when they give you updates of the status of your state in recovery and what phase your state's in recovery during this situation right now from this virus. Listen to how they speak. You'd be surprised about what you hear. You'd be surprised. But that's all I'm going to really say, guys. I got to get back into work now. Comment down below. Let me know what you all think down below. Thank you all for tuning in live and everything. Like I said, tune in. Thank you all for tuning in live. Thank you for those of you in the chat, in the live chat. Thank you all for listening. I got to get back into work now. Let me know what you all think down below in the comment section if you're watching this post live. And I am out. God bless. Take care.